Amara Blake had never considered herself a hero. She didn't wear a cape or possess superpowers. Her only weapons were a warm smile, a boundless heart, and a fierce belief that small acts of kindness could change the world. Growing up in a struggling community, Amara knew hardship. Her family barely scraped by, relying on food banks and the generosity of neighbors. But amidst the struggle, one person stood out, Mrs. Langley, her school teacher. Mrs. Langley didn't just teach, she believed. She saw potential in Amara when no one else did, and often reminded her, one person can change everything. That belief shaped Amara's life. Now 29, Amara worked as a social worker in the same community that had shaped her. Every day she saw the same struggles, families on the brink of eviction, children slipping through the cracks of the education system, and individuals losing hope. But instead of despairing, Amara acted. Her day began before sunrise. By 5:30 a.m., she was packing meals, not just for herself, but for the homeless individuals she might encounter. By 7 a.m., she was at the community shelter, where Marisol, a single mother, awaited her. "Good news," Amara said with a warm smile. "I found a program that can help cover childcare costs while you work." Marisol's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how you do it, Amara. You don't even know us." Amara placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I don't need to know you to care. You deserve a chance, just like anyone else." From the shelter, Amara moved on to the local school, where she tutored a group of middle schoolers struggling with math. The children adored her. She had a way of making complex problems seem simple, but more importantly, she made them believe they could succeed. Later that afternoon, she met with Marcus, a troubled teenager she had recently started mentoring. Marcus had been skipping school, hanging out with the wrong crowd, and flirting with trouble. "Why do you care so much?" Marcus asked, his voice heavy with mistrust. Amara smiled softly. "Because I've been where you are, and someone cared enough to pull me out." Marcus didn't respond, but the next day he showed up to a neighborhood cleanup Amara had organized. He worked harder than anyone, his silent determination speaking volumes. As the months passed, Amara's efforts began to ripple through the community. The cleanup initiative inspired neighbors to work together, transforming vacant lots into community gardens. Local businesses took notice and donated supplies. Marisol found a job that allowed her to move her children into a better apartment. Marcus started attending school regularly and began helping younger kids avoid the mistakes he had made. But not everyone welcomed change. One evening, Amara found her car tires slashed. Some saw her efforts as meddling, disrupting the status quo. "It's not worth it," her friend Kara said. "You're putting yourself in danger." "It's worth it if one person's life gets better," Amara replied. That night, she carried meals by hand to the homeless individuals she usually drove to see. One man sitting by a park bench accepted the meal with a nod. "You're the only one who stops by," he said quietly. Amara smiled. "You're not invisible to me." Years later, the impact of her work was undeniable. Marcus became a youth mentor, guiding kids away from the path he had nearly taken. Marisol volunteered at the shelter that had once saved her. The once neglected community was now vibrant, a testament to what could happen when people cared. One evening, Amara was surprised to find herself the center of attention at a community celebration. A banner hung across the hall read, "To our everyday hero." Tears welled in her eyes as Marcus stepped forward to speak. "Amara taught us that kindness is contagious, and now we're paying it forward. She made us believe that even the smallest ripple can create a wave." As she looked out at the faces of the people she had helped, Amara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She wasn't a superhero in the traditional sense, but she had discovered a truth more powerful than any superpower: the strength of compassion. In her own quiet way, Amara Blake had saved the world, not with grand gestures, but with countless small acts of kindness.